All right, welcome to the Real Estate Marketing Podcast. My name is Jerome Lewis. I'm your host for today. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast where we talk marketing, tech, business, and leadership. We talk these things for real estate agents, real estate investors, and real estate entrepreneurs. The Real Estate Marketing Podcast is a podcast that has two purposes. Purpose number one, to educate and inform our audience of listeners. Purpose number two, Chris, to spotlight you, your business, your service, or your product in a way that provides value to you, including market exposure and content creation. With that, we have a very special guest for a second time, Chris Prefontaine. Chris Prefontaine is a three-time best-selling author of Real Estate on Your Terms, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, and Monica Sawyer's Real Estate Investing for Women. He also the founder and CEO of smartrealestatecoach.com and the host of the Smart Real Estate Coach podcast. Chris has been in real estate for over 30 years. His experience ranges from constructing new homes in the 1990s and owning a realty executive franchise to running his own investments, commercial and residential, on coaching clients throughout North America. After the crash of 2008, Chris re-engineered his entire business to weather all storms and economic cycles. Understanding these challenges, he helped his students navigate the constantly changing real estate waters. Today, Chris runs his own buying and selling business with his family team, which purchases 2 to 5 properties monthly. So they're in the trenches every single week. They also help students do the same exact thing across North America, working together on 25 to 30 properties every month. Chris, I'm excited that you're here. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, buddy. I was anxious to get back and continue our chat.
Absolutely. So I'm excited because I have some different questions for you. I still want to ask you some of the common stuff that we talked about in the past for people that haven't heard, but I have some different questions for you based on the audience and some of the things that I've been hearing from people. The first question that I'm going to ask you is I want you to tell us about terms, what terms is and why you appreciate terms in the real estate business so much.
Yeah, well, a little backdrop for you, a little backstory. I started this back after the crash, as you remember, Jerome, and there was one way and only one way I could buy because my credit was in the toilet. I had no cash and no bank would look at me. And so terms to us means owner financing. We niche that down to free and clear owner financing, but owner financing subject to existing mortgages where it stays in the seller's name, but we buy the house. And third is lease purchase. So to us, that's what terms means. Creative real estate, basically, as you know.
Okay. And part of the reason, like you said, some of the, you often hear in the real estate space, some people say banks, some people say no banks. Tell us a little bit about why, give us your perspective on banks.
Well, I'm a little biased against banks from what I went through because look, I had about 23 properties, Jerome, when the market crashed. And look, at nothing against bankers. They did their job. I was signed personally. And as such, they're going to come knocking on my door, right? Literally and figuratively. And so when you sign personally with a bank, they have you and your assets pledged, period. And I just do not do that. Again, I don't encourage my students to do that unless, one exception, you want to buy a home for your family of a certain area, you can't find one on terms, and you got to move there for schools or whatever. Okay, I could see that happening, but no other reason would there be for you to do that because you can buy anything the way I just said, any asset class.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I kind of already asked this question a little bit, but I want to ask it more directly. What does it mean to buy and sell on terms?
Well, in addition to what I said with the methods, what it means to me is my terms. Like my book is called, I see it behind you, thank you. My book is called Real Estate on Your Terms. Why? Because you get to do two things. You get to morally and ethically look at the seller situation and say, what is the best for them in terms, right? But at the same time, what works for me and my lifestyle and my plans, right? So it's got to be a win-win, and it's based on your terms.
Okay. And the next question, we talked about this during the first episode, but do you have to be full-time to be involved in real estate and particularly this business, like terms?
Yeah, that's interesting. We had a boot camp, a tiny private boot camp at our office last week, about 17 people and 2 people, and they were full-time. And they said, what do I got to do? I said, look, 99% of the people that join our community, 99 point something, most are full-time jobs. Now we help them exit from that, Jerome. So there's a very specific, predictable plan to do that. But I would expect people to have something else going on that we have to help them design a schedule around. 2 quick examples. One gentleman recently left his job, 30 years working for the government, 100 plus employees. So you don't have to be full time. I can show you how to work around that and design a schedule to fit that.
Okay. And how would you, like most people know about wholesaling, fixing and flipping, landlording? Can you tell us the difference between those and terms? Like how does that all play in together?
Yeah, and I don't mean any disrespect people that do those. As you know, I have all those different niches you just mentioned in my podcast too. So they're good friends of mine. But what I will tell you is why I design and then trademark the 3 paydays is the ones you just mentioned, I've dabbled in, some aggressively, and they're one payday. They're transactional. Let me use that word. So I do a deal, I get paid. It could be very well, but I do a deal, get paid. Do a deal, get paid. Versus the 3 payday system that we trademarked that says, okay, let's not be on that proverbial treadmill. Let's get a check at the beginning of a deal when we go into the deal, like everybody wants to do. But then let's start in motion every single deal, a monthly cash flow stream and a long-term cash flow stream. And that's what we trademark. Why? Because I was tired of that proverbial treadmill, Jerome. I'd get up in January 1st every year and go, oh man, I got to create the same income. That means I got to do the same amount of deals and I got to recreate that all over again. And that was starting to get depressing after a while.
Absolutely. I completely understand. So I've been a little bit more involved in the community. I'm trying to get even more involved because I appreciate what you do so far. And one of the things I want our audience to know about is that Wicked Smart Sit Down. Could you talk about the Wicked Smart Sit Down?
Yeah. So every Thursday, gosh, this has been going on since like 2017 or 18, maybe more. We host for 50 minutes at 4 o'clock Eastern. It's never changed, the Wicked Smart Sit Down. And on that Wicked Smart Sit Down, we have either myself and the coaches and the family members come on, or a combination of those, or we have a guest speaker come on like yourself, anyone that can teach the community, and they're free, Jerome, because I want people to be able to experience a little bit about our community. It's unique. And when they do, they go, wow, you guys weren't kidding, because it's not something you can put in print. The culture, the way we interact with people, you can't put that in print and go, here's what you get. So when you come to the sit down for free, you get to experience that and you leave with some good content, actionable items.
Thank you for sharing that. And you have different programs. One of the programs that I appreciate is the QLS program. Can you talk about that a little bit too?
Yeah, the QLS home study. Gosh, I first started that in 2016 with 10. I don't know if you remember the flip cameras that used to like zone in and out automatically. They were awful quality. I filmed 10 quick videos. It worked. It got people doing deals. That has now grown to an online platform with 12 modules, hundreds of calls, examples of deals, and agreements even that we use. And it's always updated, Jerome. We're going through our 4th iteration since 2016 right now. And why do I share that with you? Because I know you know a lot of different people in this industry. Well, if you're in a course right now or an online platform and it hasn't been updated, say, let's just pick since COVID, you're going to get yourself in trouble potentially. So we constantly update. It's like a living, breathing course. I would more likely refer to as a resource center because you can go through it once, but then as you do deals, you're going to go back and access that piece that you need. It could be on owner financing, or it could be the section on agreements, or our own personal checklist that we use in our office to buy and sell all the time. Those are really a very, very robust program. It leaves nothing behind that you have to go look for past that.
It is very robust and it's very detailed. And one of the things I appreciate about you and your coaches, your partners, is the fact that you give us everything. You give people everything that they need to go be successful. And it's almost impossible for you to fail because you have all of the tools. However, I'm a huge advocate of coaching, and I would like you to talk about that because you referenced that, and your coaches in the community, we've referenced that. And in my experience, it's almost impossible to be successful in business without some kind of coach. So could I hear you talk about that, please?
Yeah, this came up last week too. That's why I'm smiling. And that is, people said to me right in the room, like we were elbow to elbow in this small little boot camp we ran, and they said, well, okay, so your QLS home study course, I could go do deals, right? I said, of course, that's how I designed it. But here's what I said. Will you leave money on the table if you go do deals yourself instead of having a mentor on your shoulder or a coach on your shoulder doing the deal with you? Of course you will. There's just, after 33 years, I can tell you that I'm not quite weekly, but on a monthly basis, I'll get something to go, well, that's interesting, and a new twist and a new tweak and a new way to become profitable. So if you go out and do deals, you can do them, but you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. So I think the mentoring and coaching is important, but one step further, Jerome, I think the interactive type coaching model is the most important, meaning we're doing it with you, not here you go, here's a platform, go for it. Again, that could be a disaster. So we're literally calling sellers, calling buyers, working the deals with these students, which is pretty important.
Yeah, and to see it live is so inspirational. And even though I'm doing deals and I have some stuff going on, I make sure I attend the Wicked Smart sit down actively as much as possible. So I know we already talked about it, but I want our audience to hear about it again so they can go see like live. And sometimes you do some coaching on that call and you help the students make more money or turn the deal so it could be more profitable, etc. So let's hear you.
Yeah. So Wicked Smart Sit Down, I think the link, unless they gave you a different link, you could put it in your show notes, whatever the links are. Okay. They can go to smartrealestatecoach.com/events. I believe the sit down is listed there. Wicked Smart Sit Down on Zoom every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 50 minutes. That's 50. And again, it's free, guys. You just got to register so we can get you in the room. That's all.
Yeah. And then, so I want to go back into QLS and we're giving people tools. We already talked about the concepts a little bit on one of the prior episodes, the tools. So I've been in there and I see it's everything you need. And one of the things that really jumped out to me is scripts. And a lot of people that get involved in the business or they get involved, they're trying to do real estate and they don't have like any scripts. So I would like to hear you talk about the importance of scripts and some of the structures that you put inside the QLS.
Well, scripts arm the students to be confident, right? Look, the seller, unbeknownst to them, the seller is not going to come up with something new that you can't answer if you have the scripts in front of you. There's probably 10 or 12 commonly asked questions. There's a basic script that we teach for creative real estate. Once you know that, you are excited to talk to sellers. You're excited for them to ask you questions because that means they're more curious. They want to learn more. So that, I think the scripts are a huge piece. Taking that one step further, what we do with the students, Jerome, is, and this is by far the fastest way to cut down a learning curve, we have them record their calls in the areas that they can. And they'll send those over to us and we will critique it, give them action steps to go do it again. And they'll go do another call and then they'll send that back. And we hear this progression go so quickly. My wife asks me a lot, like, who's doing the best in the community and why? And the answer is always the same for me. It's the people that do the call critiques and they work the scripts and they have us critique calls. Those are the ones that are progressing, doing the most deals, bar none.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that. So I work with like a lot of agents. I'm trying to get some agents to jump off that rat wheel and get investing. And I'm getting common questions from them. One of those questions include, is now a good time to be investing in real estate? And more particularly, is now a good time to be doing these kind of deals?
Yeah. In 33 years, I'd be 33 years in September for me, in 24 September. It has never been in such high demand, number one. And number two, it's never been as acceptable, at least from my perception in the marketplace. Because I've been screaming about this for 11 years. Since post-crash. And now we have communities like you're saying, like this real estate realtor communities, this wholesale and flip communities, they're calling us going, hey, can you teach our community how to do this? Because we now recognize how super important this is, because the market's going to keep changing. We all know that. So why not get really good at creative and bop and weave with the market versus saying, oh, this time's not good for building or this time's not good for fix it flip. No, it's a good time for creative all the time if you know how to navigate inside the creative space. So it couldn't be a better time.
Okay. And then part of the way that I got involved in the realtor community was because I got a tip from you, one of the other communities, that some of the best lead sources to go after was expired. So I would like to hear you talk about some of your favorite lead sources and how you get deals.
I like expireds because they're usually immediate appointment potentially because they were frustrated, right? And we all know that. I was a realtor back in the day. I couldn't sell everything, right? And if I knew how to do this, I could have pivoted to buy it. I don't love for sale by owner. I still work for sale by owner because they just need a little time to realize if they're going to not sell or sell, right? What I love working, we just did a small mailing. We don't do a lot of mailing because it's money. We do a lot of phone work with the virtual assistants, but I just did a mailing to free and clear properties in a particular zip code. Why? Because free and clear properties, people presumably don't need, quote unquote, the money, but they want their price and they'll take it over time. And we structure those with principal only down payments. Principal only monthly payments. That is a huge recession hedge in any market. And so if I can get you doing just a few of those per year, and we can get those turned into six figures, all 3 paydays, because there's a simple formula for that, then you've got a different financial picture. And I'm not saying you're going to do 10 a month or you're going to find 10 a month, but if I help you find 2 or 3 or 4 of those a year, and they're all worth over 6 figures to you, that's a game changer. So I love the free and clear market. There's a lot of lists, but I love that.
Thank you for sharing that. And so last time we talked, we were talking with like directly to real estate investors. And now I kind of want to give the agents some tools. And I'm thinking, of course, the investor can apply this too, but I see a lot of agents, they're out there, they're going to get it, right? One community I'm in, they go after expireds. Like, what are some things they can do to add this to their toolbox as a strategy?
Well, here, and I wish I did this as an agent, so I'll talk directly to them.
Mm-hmm.
Think of this in terms of, okay, as a top producing agent, when I was an agent, I sold 72% of my listings. I think it was 70 something percent. There were just some I couldn't sell. So think of anything that doesn't fit inside your box like that you would have normally let go, or a listing appointment that you go to that it's over leveraged. They don't want to do a short sale, or they're behind on payments. Any one of those things that causes them to dig out of their pocket to get it sold, they're probably going to avoid you. Why not have another solution? That's all. Why not have a solution that says, hey, I'm going to look at your situation, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and I'm going to determine with you what the best option is for you, for me to list it conventionally or for me to buy it. And when I get there, I'll explain those to you. That's going to come across sincerely that you are looking out for their best interest after you hear their story and you tell them what the best option is. Now, once you learn it, and then what do you think they're going to do, Jerome? They're going to tell other people, like they came up with this creative solution. They didn't charge me a commission because they bought it, or whatever the solution is that you have. I wish when I was a realtor doing 100 homes a year, which I did in the 90s, I had this as a backup solution. So when you're calling people and they say, are you an agent? Yes, I'm licensed. I also buy. Let me come over and we'll go over a bunch of options. It takes the wall right down.
Nice. I appreciate hearing that. A lot of questions. So I'm back in the agent's brain. And one of the things that they often say is, why would someone do this? And I know the answer could be, it can be an infinite loop of reasons why, but I would like to hear your perspective on why people might do this. Some of the common reasons potentially.
I'll give you the comment because you and I, because we do so many deals in the community, you and I could literally do this for 3 hours. I could just list deal after deal after deal. I'll give you some off the top of my head. Free and clear owner selling to me. This is one of our deals. Wanted it for 2 reasons. He wanted it over time. Realtors were giving him offers. He said, Chris, they don't understand. I don't want it up front. He wanted it for tax reasons spread out over time with payments. And number 2, he wanted it for estate planning reasons. He was ill. And instead of having his wife and his kid inherit a house, they inherited a cash flow stream. On the other end of the spectrum, he was not financially hurting. On the other end of the spectrum, we deal with seller after seller after seller, in this market included, who has either a second or a third mortgage, or they lost a job, or whatever reason, they have some financial pain and they can't make another payment, or they're in arrears and they're about to lose it, or the realtor's telling them they should do a short sale, which might beat up their credit still. So there's all these other reasons that sellers go, look, I need financial relief, or I need this out of the market that the market's not giving me. So think of it this way, general. Can I help them accomplish a goal that the market's not doing right now, i.e. the free and clear people? Or can I solve a problem that they need solving right now? So we bought a house recently, divorced couple, one is on the deed, one's on the mortgage. They're $4,100 in arrears. Not terrible, $4,100. All we had to do is cure the arrears, and we owned that house, and we bought it when the mortgage stayed in their name. They were tickled pink, Jerome, because they were about to lose that house. There's all kinds of reasons. We could go on and on and on. Life events cause people to need a guide.
All right, Chris, I would like to hear you share with us one of your favorite student success stories.
I'm going to go with Rick because Rick, I picked up the phone. I heard from some of my coaches that this guy, Rick, and I didn't know yet, was doing well, but he didn't do a deal yet. So in April of 22, I called him up. I didn't know it, but he was on vacation. He picked up. He was surprised I was calling. I said, Rick, I want to bring you into my private group. I want to do deals. I want to create a new story with you. He went for it. To his credit, he committed and went for it. In the next, from April to August, he did 4 deals, all worth over 6 figures, all peaked over the 100 grand mark, and was able to leave his job. That's someone that worked for the government with over 100 employees, 30 years working for the government, was able to leave. He left in May of 23.
Nice.
That's a cool story. And we're helping people do that since, gosh, the last 10 years, we've been helping people do that, leave their jobs.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to go back to the deals. No, actually, I want to talk about your book, right? So I got the book up here in the background. Can you tell us a little bit about this book and how we can, I'm going to put a link up. I believe I got a QR code on how people can get this book.
Yeah, they can get it for free. Yep.
Yeah.
So real estate on your terms, like has been my philosophy, doesn't hold back anything. It gives you how we do deals, the resources behind it, some stories about some people in the Wicked Smart community. So you get different walks of life and you don't get caught in that, oh, I wonder if it works for me or my area. You'll see all that. And again, some cool resources. So you're not left alone. Now, I'm never going to tell anyone, Jerome, read the book and you'll go make $1 million, but it will open your eyes to creative real estate. And then the deal structure overtime is pretty cool. It took a bunch of our deal structure videos. We got like several hundred on YouTube that you can watch for free. But it took those and it went kind of behind the scenes to the nuances on the deals, like the really down and dirty, good, bad, and otherwise. And we go over that. That's what we call it overtime, deal structure overtime. You'll get those for free. That's without shipping. I know a lot of free offers charge you shipping. No shipping at all. You can get that.
Thank you for sharing that. So you just mentioned a resource I haven't heard before, the deal structure. Can you tell us about your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So if you go on to YouTube and just type in Smart Real Estate Coach, there's 3 sort of playlists that I would draw your attention to. There's more, but the 3 in particular are Deal Structure Sundays. Every Sunday since 18, we've been posting one deal structure where we whiteboard it or break down some facet of a deal. And it's not always rosy. Some are tough, right? So I want to let you see everything. We have Q&A Thursdays where students ask questions. We do a video on it because we feel that everybody can benefit from it. And then we have Motivational Mondays because the mindset piece, as you know, is super important, bigger than most think. And those are on just mindset, motivation, things like that. So you have a hodgepodge of different ideas there with the 3 playstations.
Absolutely. And one more time, could you tell us about your podcast? Because you have a podcast as well, and you have some excellent guests on your podcast.
Yeah, smartrealestatecoachpodcast.com. Thank you. I think we're up over, I don't know, not quite 500 episodes yet, but it's approaching that. And I try to put people on always that can add value, but always that have experience. And I look for people that were pre-2008 crash, most of my guests, because I want them to have gone through a bunch of economic cycles so the listeners, the wicked smart listeners, can learn from them, right? So we can constantly learn from mistakes. That's how you learn.
Okay. All right, Chris, this has been excellent. I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for coming back a second time. We'll probably do another one. And I know you got some other coaches that are going to come to the podcast as well. So you have any final closing thoughts before we close out?
I would just say to your question earlier, you can do this if you're listening. You can. Don't second guess yourself, the economy, and certainly don't listen to the media. You can get on this and you can look back in a year or 2 or 3 and say, I'm so glad I did that when the time was right, and be one of those stories that you always hear about taking advantage of certain markets.
Thank you, Chris. I'm going to pull something right from there. Like you said, a year or 2 or 3, like sometimes there's a lot of people out there that will make people believe this will get done in a week or a month, and it's just unrealistic. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate you and your team, because it's real. You tell a real thing. This is how it works. Here are the possibilities and the probabilities. Let me know if you're in or not.
Exactly.
All right, Chris, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.